All right, folks. So, while I was doing some brief research about Edward Bernays, and I realized, I was like, my goodness, I have to really prime the pump here. And really, hopefully I'm not poisoning the well here. But I think we do need to cover a little bit about what Edward Bernays was involved with, and some connections to him before we get into propaganda, because there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff. I'm not as in. If I was more intelligent and I was able to, really make videos more properly, then I would do more of a nice, tight content and condensed video about Edward Bernays. But for me, my view right now, at least, this may change, is I want to present you the information unvarnished without an opinion. When I try to read these books, occasionally I will make a comment here and there, which I will do less of. I felt the need. I felt the twinge, a couple of times in State Revolution. I was like, no, let's just keep reading, because it's easier that way. That way you can come up with your own opinion. This is not going to be that. I'm just going to tell you right now. This is not going to be that. This is going to be me filtering these opinions and, just seeing where it goes. So Edward Bernays. Edward Bernays is, of course, Austrian. Was an Austrian German. Born into a Jewish family. Yep. Take that for what it is. We're not gonna delve into that too much. I will make a comparison though later on. So he was the son of Ellie and Anna Freud Bernays. Freud. His great-grandfather Isaac Bernays was chief rabbi of Hamburg. Bernays was a double nephew of the Viennese psychoanalyst Sigmund Freud. There you go. He's very much, Edward Bernays very much fits the liberal mold, if you will, and helped to create what is today considered neoliberal capitalism. And that's me saying that. That isn't just me reading. So let's talk about some of his exploits here. Let's get into that a little bit here. So he was a medical editor, and he wrote for Medical Review of Reviews and Dietetic and Hygienic Gazette in 1912. Wow. This guy died at 103, folks. So yeah, he so from 1891 to March 9th, 1995. Wow. March 9th, of course, the same day that Notorious B.I.G. was shot in L.A. But interesting side note. Sorry. That's just what my mind goes to. After his foreword, so he did this review, let's see here. So his father was a grain exporter at Manhattan Produce Exchange, so they had left Austria and come to the United States. His family moved to New York City, where he attended DeWitt Clinton High School, which I guess is still open. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Oh, the BX. There you go. Okay, anyway. I'm just kind of jumping all around, folks. But I think I really need to set this out, because there's so much information here. This kind of leads to what, of course, what's his face? Noam Chomsky, of course, talks about with manufacturing consent, which is just a ripoff of what Michael Parenti did. Michael Parenti did, the book, let's see here, Inventing Reality. inventing reality. To me, it just seems like that's, everyone loves Chomsky apparently. But ultimately, I think as we've read with State Revolution, I'm just going to spout my opinion, but Chomsky is nothing more than an opportunist. He will vote. He will still say every election, vote blue no matter who. Yeah, he's pretty good for stating facts, and he's very, he has an encyclopedic knowledge, but ultimately he is just a vote blue no matter who sort of guy who just thinks, well, yeah, just vote for the Democrat regardless. It's okay. And they have tried to push him on that. And yeah, I think at least with Michael Parenti, he seems to have a little bit more integrity. So there's my bias out of the way. Parenti basically has more respect for me than people like Noam Chomsky. Also Michael Parenti, of course, knew Bernie Sanders, and back when he was running for, did the whole let's try to change the system and everything else, just as everyone else is doing now, is that Parenti was doing the same thing back then. And of course, once Bernie Sanders supported Yugoslavia, the the bombing of Yugoslavia and the destruction of that, that collective, Michael Parenti kind of cut ties, rightfully so, in my opinion. But anyway, I just wanted to get that out there. So let's talk more about what he did. So Edward Bernays was, of course, a medical editor, as we talked about a little bit. He was a press agent for various reformers and performances, although he was using a variety of techniques. See, the thing is, he learned a lot of this stuff from his uncle, Sigmund Freud. So he had learned at the feet of him. Yeah, psychoanalysis by virtue of his mother, Freud's sister, and his father's sister, Martha Bernays Freud. So yeah, this is. So there's a lot of interesting things here. This really gets this definitely gets the noggin jogging in a lot of different ways here. This is very, very, very fascinating stuff here. This is why I'm going to be jumping around a lot, and it's going to be harder to make sense of. But yeah, anyway. So he promoted Daddy Longlegs stage play, trying it in 1912. Who cares about the play? Okay. Ballet's Russes. He educated Americans about the subtleties of ballet and publicized a picture of Flore Revelace was a Swiss. Okay, yeah. So basically, he had to educate the folks, and then, this is once again public opinion. This is, yeah. So World War I. Here's the comparison that I was going to make. So after the U.S. entered the war, the Committee on Public Information hired Bernays to work for its Bureau on Latin American Affairs. This is going to come up again. Based in an office in New York. Bernays, along with Lieutenant F.E. Ackerman, focused on building support for war, domestically and abroad, focusing especially on businesses operating in Latin America. Bernays referred to this work as psychological warfare. After the fighting ended, now this is something that Chomsky was talking about in this French video that I saw. I'm not going to show it just in case I do get copyright stricken. But basically he was saying that he created this hatred of Germans. This kind of goes in the whole thing of of calling it sauerkraut instead of cabbage and everything else. Kind of like how we used freedom fries for a time, because the French wanted to get rid of very silly stuff. But anyway, he created this hatred of Germans, so much so, and this has been talked about in other videos, and this hatred of Germans in America. And the thing is, what that reminds me of is someone else who happened to be of Hebrew descent, a gentleman by the name of Ilya Ehrenberg. And for those that know their history, Ilya Ehrenberg was leader of the Jewish Anti-Fascist League in the Soviet Union. And they came up with all this sort of stuff of, kill the Germans, look what they did to your house, this and that, and helped to create the image of we have to destroy the Germans. Now, like I say, I'm not going to sit here and carry water for Nazi Germany. I'm not going to do that. I'm just saying is that you have to, this is the way I'm going to put things together. I'm going to be very careful because I know people are going to, I'm sure the paranoia is in me, but I feel like people are going to say this and say, oh, well, he knows what's going to, oh, is he trying to be, anti-Semitic? No. I'm just making the comparison. I'm trying to be honest and at least mention that these are coincidences and that people will bring it up, which they will. In my opinion, they will. This isn't, and that we had to nip that in the bud right away. Anywho, so Ilya Ehrenberg, of course, can make the comparison. But of course, Ilya Ehrenberg, to be fair, saw himself still as a Russian and did not see himself as a Jew. So I think that has to be said. I would imagine it's similar with Mr. Edward Bernays. He saw himself as an American and didn't see himself as a Jew. He wasn't. These weren't Zionists. These weren't racial people. So I think that should be. Brought into play here. To be fair, we're trying to be honest. We're trying to be good faith here. Anywho, so he helped to get these plays, and he educated Americans about the subtleties of ballet. He was working in psyops. After the fighting ended, Bernays was part of a 16-person publicity group working for the CPI. A scandal arose for his reference to propaganda in a press release. The announced, I'm just reading the wiki here. I'm just trying to hit the high notes. So, Council on Public Relations, he published a book, Crystallizing Public Opinion, outlined his profession, and taught a course at NYU. He had very pronounced views on the differences between what he did and what people in advertising did. A pivotal figure in the orchestration of elaborate corporate advertising campaigns, yada, yada, yada. Okay. 1930s Dixie Cup. Bernays used his uncle Sigmund Freud's ideas to convince the public, among other things, that bacon and eggs was a true all-American breakfast. There you go. Among his clients, United Fruit Company, which of course, that's Chiquita and all those companies, which he gets into as well. This is I'm surprised lefties don't really talk about this. They just say once again, well, it's America. America's evil. There's individuals, and dare I say this, I'm going to Fed post just for a moment here, but this is something that people say is that the people that want to destroy your way of life have addresses. And that's not a call to arms. I'm just saying this is what people say. So take that for what it is. Anyway, so he's the one that created the idea of bacon and eggs as the all-American meal. He worked for Procter & Gamble for Ivory Brand bar soap. My cat is going wild, folks. I'm sorry. I'm just going to keep going with this because I feel like I'm going to forget tomorrow. So I feel like let's just get this out the way. Okay. She's okay. Yep. Okay. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm getting distracted. So, Motors, the fluoridationists of the Public Health Service. Okay, so he really pushed the idea of fluoride in water. Ooh, man. I'm surprised. Once again, this feeds into a lot of different things here, folks. I'm surprised that people don't talk about this enough. Which is why I'm going to try to read the whole book. I'm not going to do just a short little video, which, will catch a lot of attention and will bring a lot of people in. But to me, I want people to be educated all the way, and not just say, well, I understand the basic gist of his life. So that's, but we have to dig a little bit deeper, So I want to be used at least for that. Anyway, So, political clients. Okay, set up a vaudeville pancake breakfast for Calvin Coolidge. Huh. Entertainers included Al Jolson. Wow. Mammy, my little mammy. Raymond Hitchcock. Haven't heard of him. Dolly Sisters. Once again, those are probably, Herbert Hoover. Yeah, desperate Herbert Hoover consulted with Bernays a month before 1932 presidential election. Bernays advised Hoover to create disunity within his opposition and present an image of himself as an invincible leader. So this guy is like Mad Men before Mad Men, of course. Yeah. Bernays advised William O'Dwyer in his candidacy for mayor of New York City. Let's see here. For example, he should tell Irish voters about his actions against the Italian mafia. Oh, wow. This guy's doing some real skullduggery then. Okay. Yowza. Okay, so we're getting to the good stuff. Hold on, folks. So, yeah, he helped to name the President's Emergency Committee for Employment, suggesting the name is preferable to the committee. To Jews, he should appear as a committed opponent of Nazis. Okay, this is talking about William O'Dwyer. Okay, in the 1950s, some of his, during World War II, United States Information Agency, he was chairman of the National Advisory Committee of the Third U.S. War Loan, co-chairman of the Victory Bank campaign. Okay. Some of his ideas and vision helped to portray India as the most democratic republic in Asia. 1920, Bernays worked on the first NAACP convention in Atlanta, Georgia. His campaign was considered successful because there was no evidence at the convention. His campaign focused on the important contributions of African Americans to whites living in the South. I wish I could find a book on his biography, but I'm a little strapped for cash, so I'd rather just read the wiki to y'all, and just to give y'all a better sense of him. Bernays organized the publication of Freud's introductory lectures on psychoanalysis in the U.S., sending royalty money back to his uncle in Vienna. Freud turned down further offers of promotion. When a person would first meet Bernays, it would not be long until Uncle Sigmund would be brought into the conversation. His relationship with Freud was always in the forefront of his thinking and his counseling. According to Erwin Ross, another writer, Bernays liked to think of himself as a kind of psychoanalyst to troubled corporations. In addition to publicizing Freud's ideas, Bernays used his association with Freud to establish his own reputation as a thinker and a theorist. Well, there you go. It doesn't really sound like Freud really thought much of him. It sounds like, he's kind of like, please pay attention to me, uncle, that type of thing. I don't know. That's just the way I read it. Now I'm psychoanalyzing. Oh, boy. Okay. Worked briefly for Liggett Myers in 1927, makers of Chesterfield cigarettes. Oh, and Lucky Strike, which involved mocking the endorsements of opera singers who said Lucky Strikes were kind to your voice. Oh, which made Lucky Strike promptly hired Bernays away from Liggett and Myers. When he started working for American Tobacco Company, Bernays was given the objective of increasing Lucky Strike sales among women, who, for the most part, had formerly avoided smoking. The first strategy was to persuade women to smoke cigarettes instead of eating. Oof. Bernays began promoting the ideal of thinness itself, using photographers, artists, newspapers, and magazines to promote the special beauty of thin women. Medical authorities were found to promote, yowza. Torches of freedom. Oh, really? Consulted with psychoanalyst Abraham Brill, a student of Freud's, who reported to him that cigarettes represented the torches of freedom for women whose feminine desires were increasingly suppressed by their role in the modern world. Bernays organized a contingent of women to smoke cigarettes, torches of freedom, at the 1929 Easter Sunday parade in New York. Because it should appear as news with no division of the publicity. Wow, okay. I'm sorry, I'm just very surprised by this. It's like I had heard a little bit more about Bernays, but I had no idea. I had no idea about all this. Was asked to deal with women's apparent reluctance to buy Lucky Strikes because their green and red package. Bernays then endeavored to make green a fashionable color. The centerpiece of his efforts was the Green Ball, a social event at the Waldorf Astoria. Oh boy, very fancy. Yeah. Okay, modus operandi. Throughout the job, Bernays concealed the fact that he was working for the American Tobacco Company, and in fact succeeding in keeping his own name out of the affair as well. Oh boy. Staff were instructed to never mention his name. Third parties were used. Yep. Bernays did not smoke cigarettes himself. Yep, there we go. Never get high in your own supply, as they say. And persistently tried to induce his wife, Doris, to quit. This is, oh my goodness. This is laying the foundation for so many things. But this is the real linchpin, folks. This is the real linchpin. Here we go. The United Fruit Company, today Chiquita Brands International, hired Bernays in the early 1940s for the purpose of promoting banana sales within the United States. Promote them he did, by linking bananas to good health and to American interest, and by placing them strategically in the hands of celebrities in hotels and other conspicuous places. Bernays also argued that United Fruit needed to put a positive spin on the banana-growing countries themselves, and for this purpose created a front group called the Middle America Information Bureau. See, so once again, this is something that a lot of these lefties, I remember I watched a video by, what is his name? Or her name, excuse me, because, he's transitioning. Christopher Szabo. Kind of a low rant ANCOM, and he did a video about Guatemala and the revolutions. And I didn't watch that closely, but didn't really talk anything about Edward Bernays, which, once again, it takes, it's not just one person, and to blindly and to very fuzzily say, well, America's evil. Well, let's be specific about what you're talking about in America, And I think that's part of the issue of what goes on in discourse today is that people get so influenced by memes and by, these influential stories and say, oh, America took in Nazis. It's like, well, let's be objective here. I think that's something that's important in any discourse is to try to learn. It's like it makes it that much harder. You know what I mean? We're trying to retrain ourselves a bit, and dare I say it like that, but we don't want to fall into the trap that people like Bernays helped to create. Anyway, so he was hired in the early 1940s. Promote them he did. Yada yada yada. United Fruit shut down the Middle America Information Bureau in 1948 under the new presidency of Thomas Dudley Cabot. Bernays resented this change but stayed on with the company for a reported annual fee of more than $100,000. Bernays worked on the national press and successfully drummed up coverage of Guatemala's communist menace. The company became alarmed about the political situation in Guatemala after Jacobo Arbenz Guzman became president in March 1951. On March 21st, 1951, Bernays told United Fruit's head of publicity, Edwin Whitman, that Guatemala could reprise Iran's recent nationalization of British petroleum. We recommend that immediate steps be undertaken to safeguard American business interests in Latin American countries against comparable action here. News knows no boundaries today. To disregard the possibilities of the impact of events one upon another is to adopt a head-in-the-sand ostrich policy. He recommended a campaign in which universities, lawyers, and the U.S. government would all condemn expropriation as immoral and illegal. Okay. New York Times, the New York Herald Tribune, Newsweek, and Atlantic Monthly had all published articles describing the threat to communism in Guatemala. A Bernays memo in July 1951 recommended that this wave of media attention should be translated into action by promoting a change in present U.S. ambassadorial and consular representation, the imposition of congressional sanctions in this country against government aid to pro-communist regimes, c. U.S. government subsidizing of research by disinterested groups like Brookings Institution into various phases of the problem. Like I say, we are scratching the surface here. This is, there's a lot of depth here. Walter Winchell. Wow. Okay. So Bernays formed close relationships with journalists, including the New York Times reporter Will Lisner and columnist Walter Winchell. Pretty famous name here in the United States, of course. In January 1952, he brought a cohort of journalists from various notable newspapers on a tour of Guatemala, sponsored by the company. This technique proved highly effective and was reported 4 more times. In June 1954, the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency effected a coup d'etat codenamed Operation PB Success. The CIA backed a minimal military force fronted by Carlos Castillo Armas with a psychological warfare campaign to portray military defeat as a foregone conclusion. During the coup itself, Bernays was the primary supplier of information for the international news wires, Associated Press, United Press International, and International's news service. Following the coup, Bernays built up the image of Guatemala's new president, Carlos Castillo Armas, giving advice for his public appearances both in Guatemala and in the U.S. in 1956. So what we see here, once again is it's something that, the comparisons are not one-to-one, but definitely the comparisons are there between what is going on, what happened back then in 1956 now, or it started in 1952, led up to 1956. What is happening with Juan Guaido in Venezuela? We see that these U.S. These PMCs are getting busted. Is there a larger 3D chess story going on? I don't know. Are we just that rubbish? I don't know. That's my take. That's for the future to answer. Because to me, I'm going to keep it there. I'm just going to keep reading, and then I'll give my take. How about that? Techniques. Third parties argue that the covert use of third parties was morally legitimate because those parties were morally autonomous actors. Scientific approach. Use psychology and other methods. Philosophy was a utopian society. Vision was a utopian society in which individuals' dangerous libidinal energies, the psychic and emotional energy associated with instinctual biological drives that Bernays viewed as, wow. There's a lot of stuff in here. Once again, attracted positive and negative attention for his grand statements about the role of public relations in society. Reviewers praised crystallizing public opinion as a pioneering study of the importance of something called public opinion. Propaganda drew more criticism for its advocacy of mass manipulation. In the 1930s, critics became more harsh. As the leading figure in public relations and the notorious propaganda, Bernays was compared to European fascists such as Joseph Goebbels and Adolf Hitler. Bernays himself wrote in his 1965 autobiography that Goebbels read and used his books. I gotta find that autobiography. My goodness. Okay, rather than retreating from the spotlight, Bernays continued to play up his ideas, for example, stating in a 1935 speech that strong men, including publicists, should become human symbols to lead the masses. While the opinions ranged negative to positive, there was widespread agreement that propaganda had a powerful effect on the public mind. As a result, his legacy remains a highly contested one by Adam Curtis's 2002 documentary, The Century of the Self. And this guy was a prolific writer, and I only have 3 of his books. I thought he just wrote, my goodness. Okay, so he wrote a literal ton of stuff. And that was just, like I said, that's just the Wikipedia article, folks. That is just the Wikipedia article. Like I say, you can really fall down a trap here with this. But I think that I at least wanted to cover this a little bit. And I think this kind of feeds into the whole idea of conspiracy. Sorry if this gets, excuse me, a little bit louder. I'm just going to move the mic a little bit closer. But this can feed into conspiracy on a lot of different levels. This can feed into the whole, neoliberal system and how it maintained itself and how public opinion was changed. You can also twist this around into an anti-Semitic diatribe, which I think could be easily done. But I don't, once again, that kind of feeds into the conspiracy idea. We got to be very careful about that. Like I say, I made the comparison with Edward Bernays and with the work of Ilya Ehrenberg with the Jewish Anti-Fascist League, which of course a lot of it was liquidated by Stalin after the victory of the Great Patriotic War by the Soviet Union. That's a whole different thing, but so there's comparisons to be made. And of course, he helped to create those images. So it's easy to just say, well, America bad. Okay. Give us some reasons why. You have to give us individuals and give us information. There's the same type of thing where it's like, oh, okay, well, Nazis ruled this and that. Okay, well, tell us more about, his name has escaped me. I'm sorry. Oh shit, I can't. Anyway, you know what? I'm just gonna keep it there. I'm sorry. My brain just doesn't work as fast as it used to. I'm sorry. Anyway, so I wanted to do that at least to prime the pump a little bit because I think that there's a lot to be said, and we only have, we just have the 3 books. That there's a literal wealth of information to dig into with this, and I feel motivated, even though it's now 1:00 in the morning. I feel motivated to be like, okay, let's find the rest of these books. But I feel like that may not help anything. And I think I'd rather just put down a solid foundation before I start going through the clouds, so to speak. So I think that's what I'll do. I think we'll stick with reading propaganda, and then we'll go to I think the smaller book, it looks like, is a crystallization of public opinion, and then we'll go to public relations. I think that's kind of going backwards a little bit, but that may be the best way. I'm going to see if I can upload a video of his, or a video talking to Edward Bernays, because he passed away in 1995. So he lived to 103, folks. So yeah, he's another one of these guys like, I'm trying to think of it now. I'm going back to quality management, or what is his name? Total quality management. That's it. Let me see here. I'm trying to think of the gentleman now. Not that. Yeah, I mean Taiichi Ono. I'm trying to think of the guy that just-in-time management. There we go. Just-in-time management. That comes from. I'm trying to think of his name now. Just in case manufacturing, quality control. Daggum. Oh, it's gonna make me mad. I can't think of it. Oh no! I can't think of it. Daggum. And it's another guy that's Edward as well. I just can't think of it now. Taiichi Ono. Just in time. Okay, I'm really trying to think of his name because this refers me back to what I learned back in management. Not operations management, but operations. I can't think of it. But anyway, our teacher really ingrained us in learning this guy. Actually, I got someone else I can use. He was Robert Reich, the economist, worked with him. Let me think of who he started with. Who did Robert Reich start with? May have a target for bully. Okay, dysplasia, also known as Fairbanks disease. Okay. Reich cites this to fight the bullies, to protect the powerless. Let me see here. Secretary of Labor, Rhodes Scholarship. Wow. I don't believe in redistribution of wealth for the sake of redistributing wealth, but I'm concerned. Yeah. That's why you got to be careful of people like Robert Reich. And of course, he does have a YouTube channel. I'm not going to over promote him because, yeah. Oh, really? Adam Ruin. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, here we go. All supports an unconditional and universal income. Yeah. Oh, it's going to make me mad. I really can't think of where it is, who the guy is. Oh, Lord have mercy. I'm going to do it, though, because I'm stubborn. I feel like I've let a few things go, but I can't let this go. Reich went on a date with Hillary Rodham, the future Hillary Clinton. Wow. Wellesley College. That's yeah. For those that know, that's doesn't bother me. Hold on. I'm going to mute this here. Hold on. There we go. Just in case it does come through. I'm sorry. Okay, let me see here. Let it go, I guess. Let it go, I guess. All right, we'll let it go. All right. Anyway, I think it's like Edward something or other. Anyway, he lived to a quite old age. But but yeah, like I say, I think I tried to prime y'all a little bit, and it sounds like, since he did teach at NYU for a time, that this is going to be more more like a textbook in some ways. I think it's important to see it that way, but he did create these images, and he did use more of what Sigmund Freud used, which is more use more psychoanalysis or founder of psychoanalysis and psychopathology, and he used more of that information to yeah. Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff that can be learned from this. There is a lot of information, and I'm intrigued, and I implore you, I should say, I implore you to read more about this and don't just follow what I say. I'm going to read these books, if for nothing else, than to torture y'all a little bit. But also, maybe you can look at these and say, hey, I remember that where that one guy did a video about propaganda or something like that. And you can, if you got an hour to kill or something like that, then you can say, okay, well, maybe I'll listen to this guy. He's, he read the book for me. It's like an audio book. So that's the way I see it. Anywho, I think I'll leave it there. I tried to at least prime the pump a little bit. And we're going to go through propaganda. We're going to start tomorrow and go with that. All right. See you later, folks. Bye-bye.